Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and welcome to Fantasy Football Harsh Reality. I'm your host, Greg Romero Wilson, fantasy football enthusiast, comedian extraordinaire, here on a very late Saturday afternoon, as late as I could possibly do this. If it's one thing that is a common thread amongst most comedians, myself in particular, is we are incredible procrastinators. We love to wait until the last second. I know I can't do anything until time is almost up, and then it's like, oh my God, I gotta get this done, and that's the way it is today. Welcome to the podcast. Brian Bentley, Steve Cooper, Glenda Suggs, how are you? Thank you for joining me for a minute. This is Fantasy Football Harsh Reality, my fantasy football little talk show. Well, I don't know if you can call it a talk show because I'm the only one that talks. I am recording a podcast. That's what the microphone is for. I end up posting that on SoundCloud. But I love to host the show right here on Facebook Live where all my friends and some of my brothers even chime in. Guys that are in my fantasy football leagues tend to chime in. So it's a lot of fun. And tomorrow, of course, Week 7. Big day in the NFL. So much is going on. And for me, obviously there's always conundrums. There's always dilemmas. And that's the question. What kind of manager are you? Are you the kind of guy that makes the gutsy call, and says, you know what? No, I'm going to go ahead and take out this guy that's the big name guy for the guy that I think is going to have a big day? Or are you someone, there's a very standard operating procedure in fantasy football, which is play your studs. Just play your studs, because what you don't want to do is bet against one of your studs, and then they go out there and they prove why they are a stud. For example, I have two of these scenarios that I'm wrestling with right now in my team of record, where I have what I think is an unbelievable team, but somehow this team is 3-3. This team is Drew Brees, Mike Evans, DeAndre Hopkins, Saquon Barkley, Evan Ingram, Stephon Diggs, and then my RB2 is where I'm weakest. And this week I have Matt Breida in there right now, but I also have LaShawn McCoy and Adrian Peterson. Although, here's the thing. With LaShawn McCoy, obviously, they're going to be traveling overseas to London, so I don't like that part. And then, John Stringer, how are you, buddy? Good to see you. Let me know if you have any fantasy football questions. What are your matchup dilemmas? Anybody? So anyways, so I'm worried about LaShawn McCoy being over. Speaking of shady, yes, I'm worried about it because of the new quarterback situation. Yes, next week or in 2 weeks, Derek Anderson will definitely be better than Nathan. Anything's better than Nathan Peterson. John Stringer, you're better than Nathan Peterson. I'm better than Nathan Peterson. So, but does he know the offense? Obviously, even though Indianapolis Colts are not a great defense, they're obviously going to key on the box. They're going to key on shutting down Shady McCoy and forcing this guy who hasn't thrown a football in an NFL game in 2 seasons or so, 2-3 seasons. They're going to force him to throw the ball. So that being the case, even though traditionally, Indianapolis is a defense that you can run on, I don't feel that great about Shady McCoy in this situation because they're going to be keying on McCoy all afternoon and trying to force him to throw the ball. That's why, if anything, I really like that Colts defense. So, but that isn't really where my dilemmas are. Here are my dilemmas. My dilemmas are Drew Brees at Baltimore. Now, obviously, Drew Brees having an amazing season. I was one of those guys that thought this was going to be a very elite season for him, even though a lot of people had written him off, and he's proven to be incredibly elite. But if there's one team he struggles against, it is the Ravens. He is 0-4, especially on the road. The New Orleans Saints tend to struggle on the road because of the fact that they're a dome team. But when it comes to playing in Baltimore versus these Ravens, I don't like it. So Detroit versus Miami. Will the Lions have a defense that can wrangle all those weapons? And I'm going to tell you this right now. Absolutely. I love the Detroit defense this week, and I will tell you why. That Brock Osweiler shit, that's a mirage. That is a one-game situation, man. This is the week you get. There's a reason Brock Osweiler is on like his 5th fucking team, because he has games like he had last week where he looks like he's fantastic, and then he goes right back to, he's just like Fitzpatrick, right back to the sucking that dick. I'm telling you, this week is a great week to play Detroit's defense. I wouldn't play Miami's defense. I think Detroit's going to run through them like hot water through a paper towel. I don't think it's going to be that. I don't like Osweiler, and consequently, I don't like the Miami offense this week. I think Osweiler's going to go back to being the Osweiler we all know and despise. Yes, Nick Chubb. Let's talk about Nick Chubb. For me, personally, and I missed picking him up off the waiver wire by 30 minutes. Someone else, I went to the movies, I was coming home, I didn't watch any of the, and then all of a sudden I'm like, oh my God, Nick Chubb, what? And so I go to pick up Nick Chubb, and someone saw it 30 minutes before I did. Tamer Katan, who's actually in last place. He's like 0-6. He needs a win more than anybody, so he grabbed him. So in many ways, if anybody was going to get him, I'm glad it was Tamer and the Jew Pork team. But here's the thing. For me, it's a wait and see. Because what we saw already, we saw him come out and have those two unbelievable runs. You're like, oh my God, he's the next Devontae Freeman. But then the next game they put him in and he couldn't get squat. So, if you're like, oh, plug and play Nick Chubb, the answer to that is no. Do not plug and play Nick Chubb. Wait, let's see what you got. I mean, he might be the next Devontae Freeman. Maybe he just needed more touches. I got a Chubb too. I got a Chubb for Chubb. That may be what we wind up putting on the Monday show. We may end up being like, oh, I got a Chubb for Chubb, giving me a Chubby. But I don't think so. Because especially they're on the road against Tampa Bay, even though Tampa Bay is not a great defense, I would have to wait and see on Nick Chubb. I think the Tampa Bay defense is going to have a pretty good time actually with Cleveland this week. Okay, Latavius Murray versus the Jets. Again, Latavius Murray's one of those guys that gives you, and now keep in mind, he was running against who? Arizona. Arizona makes, and what did they do on Thursday night? They made Denver look like gods descended from the clouds. Latavius Murray was fortunate enough to play against the defense that makes every running back they face look like Walter Payton. They did, and consequently, that was last week. This week, Latavius Murray goes back to being Latavius Murray, and I don't know. I ain't liking it. I think he floats back down to earth. I think you wind up getting a 7 to 9 point game out of Latavius Murray in terms of his fantasy production. I don't think it's going to be that great, especially versus the Jets defense. That when they're at home, this Jets team looks pretty good. This Jets defense looks pretty good. So, those things being said, I don't like Latavius Murray this week. I would sit him. I wouldn't play him. Now, have you seen Melvin Gordon? Melvin Gordon now, he has a potential hammy issue. He wasn't on the injury report. Then they added him today to the injury report. I don't like this business at all, but you have to play Melvin Gordon, which means I have to stay up till like 3 o'clock in the morning or wake up at 6 to try and check see, is he playing? Because they're playing fucking London, and they're doing that shit where it's 6:30 in the morning here in California. Thanks for nothing, you fucking cocksuckers. So I don't know. So consequently, here's my problem now. Here's what I'm dealing with. Do I play Eckler as my RB2? Because even regardless of how it goes, he's a solid RB2, generally speaking. Or Crowell, because we know this is an odd-numbered game, and in odd-numbered games, at home, Crowell goes off. But Crowell, a game-time decision with a foot problem, I don't like that at all either. So, for me right now, I have Eckler in there. We'll see how that ends up working out. Now, let me ask you guys this. Who would you go with? Would you go with Drew Brees at the Ravens or Jameis Winston versus Cleveland at home? So that's what I'm dealing with. And also, DeAndre Hopkins. I know this is one of those you have to play. This is what I'm talking about, gutsy calls. Because in my mind, I should play Jameis versus Cleveland and Tyler Boyd versus the Chiefs over DeAndre Hopkins versus the Jaguars. If you think about it, he's going to be facing two incredible outside corners down there versus the Jaguars, whereas Tyler Boyd has a very easy matchup, and it's going to be a total fucking shootout, a total slugfest. It's hard for me to not want to play Tyler Boyd. Right now, I see Winston, and someone said Drew Brees. Right now, it's hard for me to not. Here's my argument for Drew Brees over Winston. It goes like this. Okay, Drew Brees knows this is a great season for him. He has great weapons. He also knows he's running out of time. And he also knows he is 0-4 against these guys, or 0-3 at the Ravens. And if he's going to get them, this is it. And he's coming off a bye. So he's had 2 weeks to sit around and think about how he could take this team apart. Even though This is the number one defense in the league. I feel like I still got to stick with Drew Brees. But yes, on paper, if I were going to make the gutsy call, the gutsy play is Jameis Winston. But Jameis, even though he had a good week last week, Cleveland's still a pretty good defense, and I'm afraid that Jameis Winston is going to be throwing a lot of interceptions tomorrow. I see even though he's still going to throw 3 touchdowns, there will be 2 interceptions. I don't know. It's hard for me to not play Brees. Well, I get you. You're right. Brian Bentley chiming in here. Smart call. Don't fall for player studs when matchups say not to. Exactly. And so would you play Tyler Boyd? Again, Tyler Boyd versus the Chiefs at night, Sunday night, marquee game, high scoring, or over DeAndre Hopkins, he didn't have a great game last week, versus the Jaguars at home versus those 2 incredible corners. Jalen Ramsey and Abuye. So, I mean, that's the question. That is the question. What would Breezes do? That's a pretty good one, John Johnson. Nice. Breezes would stick with Drew Brees. And I'm with you on that, John Johnson. I really do think you have to play Drew Brees. It's one of those things that if you take him out and Jameis doesn't have a good day or he has a ton of turnovers, I'm going to be killing myself, right? Yes, the Texas O-line is going to get... Yeah, I know. Watson's going to be running for his life all day. I'm worried about those opportunities too, Brian Bentley. I agree with that, and that's my concern. I mean, is DeAndre Hopkins even going to have the time to get open? Let alone versus those corners. Everything about that just scares the shit out of me. I mean, in my other league, I have Deshaun Watson and Andrew Luck. And obviously, I'm playing Andrew Luck versus the Bills in London. Even though the Bills have a decent defense, but that's usually at home, I expect them to get carved up pretty good. Kuti, exactly, because he's in the slot, and that's where they've been sliced up. The Jaguars have been sliced up. They got sliced up by Beasley in the slot last week. Clearly, that's the position, but the question is this. What if they start lining up DeAndre Hopkins in the slot, which they've done in the past? So that's the thing. If I start watching this game and they start putting DeAndre Hopkins in the slot and he starts cutting like Tyreek Hill for 90 yards, I'm going to kill myself, and that's the concern. Maybe for another legend, but not for Winston. Yeah, no, I think you're right. Exactly. If it were for maybe Ben Roethlisberger, if it were for Andrew Luck or somebody like that, you're right, that I probably would be like, yeah, it would be an easier switch. But Jameis Winston, he's just an inconsistent guy. And at the end of the day, he's an inaccurate passer. And that's what ultimately kind of gets me. And yes, I agreed. Exactly. Jalen Ramsey is going to be all over. The math is so bad. But at the end of the day, I mean, even the projections still have Hopkins at 14 and Tyler Boyd at 11. But even though, and again, I don't even think this is chasing the points. I don't think Tyler Boyd is going to get 2 touchdowns again like he did last week. I think but I think it's going to be a shootout. I think they're going to have to throw the ball to keep up with the Kansas City Chiefs. And I think if protection 1 is on A.J. Green, Tyler Boyd, I think he's looking at 14, 15 targets. I think he's looking at 9 to 11 receptions with over 100 yards and 1 TD. Whereas DeAndre Hopkins, I think you're looking at, 11 targets, 6 to 7 receptions, 5 to 6 receptions, maybe 100 yards and a touchdown. So, yes, Kansas City, Cincinnati, that is your fantasy football points jizz fest of the week. That's the one where we're going to see more points than any place else. And so that's and I almost want to have a slice of that. I feel like I need to have a slice of that. And again, so let me ask you this then, guys. Let me ask you this. Would you play Tyler Boyd? Okay, if you're going to take out one of 3 guys, would you play Tyler Boyd over DeAndre Hopkins versus Jacksonville, Mike Evans versus Cleveland, who I think is going to have a big bounce-back game, or Stephon Diggs versus the Jets, who, again, I think is going to have a big bounce-back game. Anytime Stephon Diggs has a low game like he did last week, he has a huge game the next week. So those are the 3 guys I have in. And again, so to me, the only guy I could take out would be DeAndre Hopkins. Boyd over Nuke. Yeah, Brian Bentley, I agree with you, man. But again, that's a gutsy call. That's a tough call to make. I've been dealing with this all week, going back and forth. I don't know what to do. Oh, how about this one, guys? In my flex position, tell me what you guys think of this. Would you play Evan Ingram at Atlanta on Monday Night Football, which is solid, high scoring? Even for the Giants, I think having Ingram back will really help that offense. Tamer, I was telling him at the top of the broadcast, Tamer Katan, he just joined us. I was telling him how you went out there and you sneaky bastard, you got Chubb right in front of me, you punk. But at least it was you and not like Jack Jr. You cannot, Nancy Hopkins, he just started clicking. You think he just started clicking? Because see, last week, he didn't look super clicky with DeAndre Hopkins. So, I don't know. I like Evan Ingram versus Atlanta. And here's the thing, Ito Smith. Nobody's talking about Ito Smith. But I'm telling you, now that we know that Freeman is gone, Ito Smith is going to eat into Tevin Coleman's touches, because Tevin Coleman may be the lead guy right now, and he may be the guy they have more trained up. But I think that Ito he's going to be the more successful running back. I think he's more explosive. Amy Hunt Evans, thank you for tuning in. Rodney Norman, what's up, my man? Again, if you have any fantasy football dilemmas, any matchup questions, any lineup dilemmas, please type them right into the comments, and we'll be talking about them here on the show. Now, a guy that's coming back that I sneakily picked up in both my leagues, Greg Zuerlein. Greg Zuerlein, the kicker for the Rams, and I'm telling you, I just hope he is the Greg Zuerlein of last season. Because if he is, that guy is a weapon. He is 20 points in the bank per week when he's playing correctly, when he feels healthy. So, we shall see. So these are the things that I'm dealing with. What would you do, guys? Would you play Tyler Boyd against Kansas City in a Sunday night game over either Nuke Hopkins, right? Mike Evans versus Cleveland, or Nuke Hopkins versus the Jaguars in Jacksonville, or Stephon Diggs versus the Jets at the Jets? Those are the questions. That's what we're dealing with. But let's look at the games. And again, if you have any matchup dilemmas, please type them in. John Johnson is asking about bye-week doldrums. Not really, because my teams have been pretty stacked. Now, in my my Comedians League, because I'm losing Antonio Brown. For me, Antonio Brown is on the bench. So, but I've still got Tyreek Hill, and this is why I have Devin Funchess. And for me, Devin Funchess, no on Boyd. John Johnson saying keep Boyd on the bench. John Johnson, I appreciate that. And again, that's kind of where I'm at right now, but we'll see. I'm not sure. I like Evans too. I mean, it's tough, man. I don't trust Winston, but I love Mike Evans this week in a monster bounce back game. So I don't have Antonio Brown, but I have Devin Funchess. And the reality is, I have Devin Funchess behind Tyler Boyd in my other league, and I'm playing him in one league. The guy's had double-digit points for the last 4 weeks in a row or whatever, around the bye week. I really like Devin Funchess to just continue being productive all season. Even though Greg Olsen's supposed to be coming back, I don't like Greg Olsen. He's too injured, and he's got a foot problem, so I think he's going to have acceleration issues. I don't think we're going to see that much out of Greg Olsen. I think it's still going to be a lot of Devin Funchess. I think he's still going to be a target monster for that team. But those are the only ones that I'm having to deal with personally in terms of bye weeks. I'm not seeing a lot. I'm not having that many. I don't have that many. The Oakland Raiders, okay, Jared Cook. Thank God Evan Ingram is back, because I didn't want to have to drop Jared Cook, just to try and find somebody to fill that spot. But at the end of the day, I mean, he plays for the Oakland Raiders, who are, sucking the big dick. Shannon Walshmore, hello, how are you? Thank you for joining the show for just a minute. Thank you for tuning in, guys. Let's see. Tennessee, the Chargers in London. I think all the Chargers are going to explode. I think they absolutely blow these guys out. Let's see what we got here. New England and Chicago. Hey, listen, I like Taylor Gabriel to explode against this team, because I think they're going to be able to use him the same way that they were able to use Tyreek Hill last week. I like Taylor Gabriel to explode. I like Sony Michel and James White, because here's the thing. We all know that, Chicago has an incredible pass rush, which may make it more of a James White game, but Sony Michel has such incredible talent. And again, they can't stack the box, as has been pointed out by everybody, because it's Tom Brady. So I think both of them are going to have a great day. But I kind of like James White a little bit more this week. Oh, shit, Andy Hand playing my wife this week, and David Johnson shit the bed. Oh, brother. I'm so sorry you even played David Johnson. I know it looked like he was starting to come on, but that team is just a fucking mess. They got a dumpster fire out there in Arizona, brother. But if it's one thing well, big Thursday night leads are a mirage, but having a shitty Thursday night, ooh, that's starting in a hole, man. That's tough. I think you're probably going down to your wife, brother. You might want to make some kind of side bet that saves you somehow. Let's see, you're playing, John Johnson says he's playing Brady, Sony Michel, and Josh Gordon. Now, again, I'm not quite there yet with Josh Gordon, especially against a very good Chicago defense, because again, we just haven't seen him be fully integrated yet, but this may be the week. And if you have some bye week challenges, if you're missing guys because of that, then then there you go. But Brady, I think, is solid, and Sony Michel, I think, is solid, absolutely. I really like Tariq Cohen in this one because I think they're going to have to do that swing pass. But I do have a sneaky feeling. Again, the New England defense isn't incredible. So I actually like Jordan Howard to get back on track in this game. I like Jordan Howard a little bit more than Tariq Cohen in this one. Because I'm wondering who New England's going to try and shut down. And I think New England's going to see Tariq Cohen as a much bigger threat than Jordan Howard. And I think they're going to be going after him. I kind of like Jordan Howard to get back on track in this game. And I'm going to take a wait-and-see approach on Trubisky. Let's see, he's been up, then he went right back down, so we'll see. Dallas at Washington. I think Zeke explodes in this one. I think Zeke has an incredible game. I think Beasley keeps it rolling. I like Beasley. I like Chris Thompson over Adrian Peterson. I think Adrian Peterson's going to find it very hard to run against that Dallas defense up the middle. And I like Vernon Davis. I think Vernon Davis has established his rapport with Alex Smith. I think he's just better than Jordan Reed, and they're finally fucking figuring that out. So for that reason, I don't like Adrian Peterson, and I don't like Jordan Reed. And I'm going to wait and see on both Dak and Alex Smith and Swaim. I'm not running in there. I like Swaim long term. I'm not sure you play him this week at all. He's got to really show me more over the course of the season before I'm putting in Swaim. But ultimately, I think Dallas wins it 23-20. Of course I do. I'm wearing a Dallas Cowboys cap, for Christ's sake. I got 6 other Dallas Cowboys caps right behind me. I live and breathe Dallas Cowboys. Sorry about the light. Coming in for the things, just the way that it goes. Okay. Maybe we'll go a little bit this way. We'll come over a little bit. There we go. A little bit better. Let's see. Let's keep going. Buffalo at Indianapolis. I think the Colts defense explodes in this one because of the quarterback being off the golf course and into the game. I think he makes a lot of mistakes. I think the Colts sack him. I think they intercept him 3 to 4 times. I think it's a very tough day for Buffalo, although I think they probably do give up a touchdown to Shady McCoy. So I like the Colts defense. I love Andrew Luck. Ebron, T.Y. Hilton's back. Play T.Y. Hilton. Love him. I think those guys are going to have explosive games. Even though Buffalo traditionally has been a very good defense, I think this whole transition period is going to be very difficult for them. I think they're losing heart very quickly. And so consequently, I think T.Y. Hilton's going to have a great game, even though it's against that Buffalo defense. I like McCoy. I think they're going to have to rely on McCoy just on pure volume. I like McCoy. And I like Hines. I think Nyheim Hines is actually going to do better than Marlon Mack because I think that defense is going to be coming right up the middle at them. I think they're going to have to throw the ball a little more outside, and that's going to be where Nyheim Hines is going to come into play. I like him a little bit better. I hate all the Bills. I think the Bills are going to have just a terrible day today, and I'm taking a wait and see approach on McCoy. Even though I do like him, I don't love him. Just because of the setup, it's not good with Derek Anderson coming out of retirement to lead this team and has to play that week. They got to keep it vanilla for him. They're going to have to just all McCoy all day, and he'll break one loose. Maybe I just talked myself into playing McCoy over Matt Breida, although I love Matt Breida because he's at home. Okay. So that's what we got there. Ultimately, Indy wins that one 31-13 in a blowout. That's my opinion. Cleveland at Tampa Bay. Now, that's the thing. Is Cleveland a team going forwards or backwards? Because they traded away Carlos Hyde, who's been doing great. They're going to put in Chubb. I'm not so sure. Yeah, exactly. No, I don't think, thank you for that note, I don't think that Derek Anderson is going to come out and throw 6 TDs. It's been a very long time. We'll be lucky if he doesn't get himself hurt, to to be perfectly honest. Is he physically capable of playing in the NFL right now? I'm telling you, I see the Colts knocking him out of the game, Peterman coming back and throwing 5 interceptions. So, Brendan Penny, how are you, brother? Good to see you, man. If you have any big matchup questions, any dilemmas, lineup dilemmas, please let me know. Sleeper pickup, Dante Burnett versus the Jets. For the Jets, that is a sleeper. And if that's the kind of guy you're counting on, then you got a pretty tough lineup. The Nick Chubb show. Boy, you hope so, don't you? You really hope so, but I'm taking a wait and see on Nick Chubb. So Cleveland or Tampa Bay, who are they? I don't know. It could turn out to be a bonanza for Tampa Bay, this whole thing they got going with the running game. It may actually throw a wrench into their plan. May be great for them. I expect Mike Evans to really explode in this game, and the guy I like for Cleveland, Njoku. Someone everyone's like, he's the sit of the week, and I'm like, no, you play this motherfucker. And they've shown when Njoku gets going, that's when they're at their best. That's when Cleveland Browns actually begin to click, is when they get Njoku involved. I love Njoku. I think he's going to explode in this game. I like Winston, but I think he will throw some interceptions because it is a good defense. And I like Jarvis Landry in a bounce-back game. I really do. I don't like Deshaun Jackson because I haven't seen the chemistry there yet. I mean, we'll see. I just don't like him in this game versus a very tough Cleveland defense. I hate Baker Mayfield because I'm afraid he's going to try and really carry the team because Nick Chubb is also a rookie. And I don't like Callaway in this one because of that. But I say you wait and see on Chubb. I want to wait and see on Peyton Barber. Peyton Barber finally showed up last week and had a game that I was expecting from preseason. It looked great in preseason. He finally looked that way again, and maybe it's because of Jameis Winston being back. Maybe that's all he needed, but I'm going to wait and see. I'm not playing him this week. I'm going to wait and see on him. I'm going to wait and see on Godwin because it's either going to be Godwin or Jackson, and, who's it going to be this week? And so I'm waiting and seeing on those two guys. At the end of the day, I like Tampa Bay to win this one 27-20. Detroit at Miami. Detroit's coming off a bye week, and Miami's got Brock Osweiler. As I said earlier, that Osweiler business, that's a fucking mirage, my man. It's a mirage. You can't count on it. It's going away. They're going to suck so much dick this weekend. Detroit's going to come out rested. I don't know about the Browns defense. I really don't know about that, Andy. I know they've been pretty good, but lately they've been slipping up. They got all chopped up last week. I'm going down to face a Tampa Bay team that's got a lot of weapons. I'm not so hot on the Browns defense this week. I think you're wrong about that one, Andy Hand. But we'll see. That's why they play the game. We'll see. But Detroit versus Miami, I think the Detroit defense explodes in this one. I like them because it's Brock Osweiler, and I think Brock Osweiler is going to float right back down to earth. Don't play the Cleveland defense. Play the Detroit defense. I'm telling you, they're a sleeper pick. And I love Matt Stafford. I think Matt Stafford goes off against them. But again, because I think the offense is going to struggle and it's going to wear out their defense and it's going to create opportunities for Miami. I like Tate. I like Galladay. I don't like Drake or Gore. Although a lot of people are saying if you're going to play one or the other, play Gore. And I agree with that. But I don't really like either. And I don't like the Miami defense. I think the Miami defense is going to get scored on pretty handily this week. I hate Osweiler, and unfortunately, I have to take a wait and see on Albert Wilson. This is who I think he is, but with Osweiler, not sure about it. Wait and see. That's what I'm saying. But ultimately, Detroit wins it 24-13 on the road. Because if you think Osweiler is going to lead him to the Palace of Wisdom, you're fucking crazy. Forest Green, Champagne Mora, welcome to the show. Thank you for watching for just a few minutes. Having a good time talking fantasy football. Carolina at Philly. I really expect Wentz, Ertz, and the Philly defense to explode this week, to have big explosive games. I like all of Philly's wide receivers. I like McCaffrey. I like Funches. I don't like Cam, and I'll tell you why. Because I think Cam is going to have a fumble and 2 interceptions. And I don't like Olsen because, again, if your foot's hurt, that's a bad thing. That's what makes it hard to cut and run. I don't like Olsen. I hate the Philly running backs. We don't know who's going to get the ball, how they're going to be used. I don't like them. So, really, I hate both the running backs, Wendell Smallwood and the other guy, Corey Clement. Although one of them could go off, but I don't think so because Carolina's a better than average defense. Oh, you had Marshawn Lynch. Yes, if Marshawn Lynch went down for you, you're scrambling. You probably didn't get Nick Chubb. You got Gore. You're going to have to play. Gore is the better of the two in that particular matchup, but I don't like either one in that game. I think it's going to be a tough game for him. I think Detroit's going to come out rested and ready to play. Houston at Jacksonville. Set to explode. Jacksonville defense. I think the Jacksonville defense gets 4 or 5 sacks. I think they get 2 interceptions. I think they're going to have a hell of a day. But I think QT, because he's playing the slot, he's going to ride on the Houston side of the offensive ball that's going to explode. He's going to be the guy that gets the points there. I don't like the Houston defense, or rather, I like the Houston defense as well, because the Jaguars offense, struggling. I don't think Carlos Hyde is going to know what to do just yet. So I like the Houston defense. I don't like Deshaun Watson. I don't like Nuke Hopkins. I don't like Lamar Miller. And I don't like the Jags offense. Just in general, I don't like anybody on that side. I hate Bortles. Bortles can just suck my balls. Big old Bortle of balls. And I'm going to wait and see on Carlos Hyde. Do not play Carlos Hyde this week because I don't think they know what to do with him just yet. I think it's going to be a tough game for him. But you never know. If you have to have someone, he's clearly going to be the guy they want running the ball, but we don't know if it's still going to be mostly TJ Yeldon and then a little bit of Hyde. So, if anything, I do like TJ Yeldon. I think he's still going to have one more decent game before they start handing everything over to Carlos Hyde. Fiedling Edlow, how are you, sweetheart? Welcome to the show. I know it seems like I'm high on cocaine. I assure you I'm not. Way too early in the day. Let's see here. Minnesota, the Jets. This is the battle of 2 Jekyll and Hydes. Okay? Who's showing up here? Which Minnesota team and which fucking Jets team? I don't fucking know. These guys can't figure out who the fuck they are. One week they're fucking world beaters and the next week they're street meat. I don't know what to fucking say about these guys. But I do expect Diggs to explode this week in a bounce back game. And the Crow again, it's an odd numbered game. They're at home. This is where the Crow shows up. But he's battling some kind of foot issue or a hamstring issue or something. Both are very bad. So ultimately, if there is an off week on an odd numbered week, I think this might be it for the Crow. Now, I do like both defenses. I think both defenses will do pretty good. I like Cousins, obviously Thielen. Thielen has become the new Antonio Brown. He should have a good game. Yes, and they don't have Dalvin Cook yet. I'm going to talk about that in a second. But Thielen should have a very good game. But again, he's going to draw number 1 coverage from that Jets defense. And the Jets defense is very good, especially at home. So that's why I think Diggs might have the opportunity to explode this week. And Thielen still, obviously, he's going to be great. He's going to get the guy seems seemingly unstoppable. So who am I to be like, no? But so I like him, even though I don't love him, I still like him. And I like Bilal Powell in this one because Minnesota hasn't been the defense we thought they were going to be. I like Bilal Powell a lot because the Crow looks highly questionable. I don't like the Jets wide receivers. Not versus this Minnesota team. That's the one thing that I think they still have pretty good. And I hate Latavius Murray. I know Dalvin Cook is out again, which means it's Latavius time. But I'm telling you, Latavius Murray isn't it was because they were against Arizona last week. Every other game, he is stunk. And I don't know, maybe that's just what he needed, a confidence booster to get back on track, but I ain't buying it. I don't like it. I'm not for it. I don't like Latavius Murray. And I'm going to take a wait-and-see approach on Darnold, unless you're playing Baker Mayfield, in which case you should probably play Sam Darnold. Minnesota wins that one 24-20. Let's look at New Orleans versus the Ravens. They're at the Ravens. And again, as I said, traditionally this is the game that Breeze struggles in. But he will probably have to sling the ball in the fourth quarter, if not sooner. Obviously, so the guy that I think is going to explode in this game is Alex Collins. Alex Collins for the Ravens, I think, is going to have a huge day against this New Orleans defense that is not that great. They're at home. I think their defense will create opportunities for him to be on the field. I think Alex Collins slices and dices right through that New Orleans defense tomorrow. I like him a lot. I also like Kamara. I love the Baltimore defense to get a couple turnovers, get some sacks. I like Crabtree. I like John Brown in a bounce-back game, and I like Ben Watson for New Orleans. I like I think their tight end's going to have to get involved. against that very good the number one Ravens defense, number one passing defense of the Ravens. And here's the truth. I don't like Mark Ingram. I don't like Drew Brees, and I don't like Michael Thomas because of that incredible Ravens defense, but you have to play them. You have to play them because they're fucking superstars, and superstars, they rise to there's a reason they're fucking superstars. You guys, it's so crazy. There's a lot of tough choices. There's a lot of, that's why it's harsh reality. Because fantasy football on the surface looks so easy, and then it just gets so crazy. I'm going to wait and see on Hayden Hurst, although I think Hayden Hurst down through the back end of the season is going to be a very good tight end. So if you need a tight end, I'd stash him now. Because this is the week I think you're going to start seeing little drops of what Hayden Hurst can really do, and we're going to see that by the end of the season. You're going to see Hayden Hurst is really going to be doing things. New Orleans wins this one 27-23 because I think this is the one Drew Brees decides, no, I'm beating you today. Okay. Rams at San Francisco. Listen, guys, this is not going to be what you think. Everyone thinks that the Rams are going to ram it right down San Francisco's throat, and San Francisco's going to enjoy it. But that's not what's going to happen, okay? This is going to be a much more competitive game than people think. This San Francisco team, again, I'm sorry for all the game metaphors, but they ain't just rolling over for nobody. I think the way they fought against that Green Bay team gave them a lot of confidence last week. Now, unfortunately, they're running up against a far superior defense in the Rams than they faced last week versus Green Bay. That being the case, explosively, I think the full Rams defense and the full Rams offense have explosive games. Play everybody you got on the Rams offense. If they're in that game, you play them. Now, other guys I like for San Francisco, I like Matt Breida. I think, he's going to run with power. I think he's going to run with passion. He seems to be off the injury report, so look for him to have to run a good game. The guy's a great running back. I like Marquise Goodwin. I think he's still gonna eat because they're still missing one of their premier corners over there for the Rams. And I like George Kittle. I think George Kittle is going to be a big part of this game. And if I had to say anybody explodes off of the Niners, it's going to be George Kittle. I don't like Beathard. I think he's going to struggle a little bit. And I don't like Mostert. I know he looks like he's going to be... No, I think that was a lot of just not, wearing out Breida when he was still coming off that ankle injury. I don't like Mostert this week. I hate Pierre Garçon. Pierre, sorry. I wish I'd known you, man. I don't know what the fuck happened to you. I don't like Pierre Garçon, and as much as I'm playing him in both my leagues, we should probably take a wait-and-see approach to Greg Zuerlein, but fuck it. He's in. Zuerlein, come on, man. Help me win these games, baby. Be my magic genie in the bottle. Be that genie in the bottle. Jeremy Schwartz watching. Jeremy, my best friend, the guy I've known the longest, the love of my life, the guy that I can't live without, Jeremy Schwartz, my buddy. How are you, brother? Thank you for tuning in to my little podcast here. That's why I have the microphone. Fantasy football, harsh reality. I know you don't play fantasy football. You don't even really like football, but it's great to see you, brother. You know that I love you, and I'm always thinking about you. All right. Ultimately, I think the Rams win this in a much closer game than people think, 29-27. Moving on, Cincinnati, Kansas City. Listen, play everybody on both offenses. This is going to be a shootout. This is going to be your points bonanza. Play everybody. Don't play either defense, but definitely play the kickers. Play both kickers, especially if it's Nugent. Whoever's kicking in Cincinnati, go get him. He's your streamer. I think ultimately Kansas City wins 41-33. Maya DiGiorgio, how are you? How are you? Maya DiGiorgio. She tuned into the show. She come to say hello. Maya, I hope your show went great the other night in Venice. I hope it was a big hit for you, darling. I wanted to make it. Unfortunately, I had a conflict, but I hope that went great for you. I will make it out to the next time you do it. I really, really support that. Let's keep going. New York Giants, finally, last game of the week. New York Giants at Atlanta. Maya, are you a Giants or Jets girl? Because I feel like you're a Jets girl. But the Giants are at Atlanta. Obviously, I expect all of Atlanta to absolutely go off in a very explosive game. And for the Giants, I expect Barkley to have an incredibly successful night versus a very weak Atlanta defense. Look at the sweat. This is me working for you, people. This is me pouring it out for you here. Both the audio podcast on SoundCloud and, of course, for you, my friends on Facebook. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I still like Ingram, Beckham. I love the Atlanta defense. I don't like Eli because I think he's going to get sacked a bunch. He's going to throw a couple of different various interceptions. And I think we got to wait and see about Ito Smith. But mark my words, Ito Smith is going to be getting a lot more of the touches in this Atlanta defense. Thank you, Jeremy. I'm glad you watch. I'm glad you watch and enjoy my analysis. But ultimately, on Monday night, Atlanta wins that game 33-23. Those are my picks. That's what I'm calling. So thank you, Jeremy, for watching and getting loaded up on football knowledge. I think Dallas pulls out a win with their defense down there in Washington this weekend. Listen, guys, I don't know if I can make the gutsy calls. I don't know if I can make the calls. I don't know if I can put in Winston over Brees. That's not going to happen. I'm playing Drew Brees. But I don't know if I can play Tyler Boyd over Nuke Hopkins, but the matchups say that I should. We will reconvene on Monday next week, and we will see whether or not I was able to pull the trigger. Thank you guys very much for tuning in to Fantasy Football Harsh Reality. I'm Greg Romero Wilson. Follow me on all social media, Greg Romero Wilson. Just search that. You will find me. Thank you guys so much. Yes, and remember, finally, foremost, go Cowboys! Midnight Cowboys, Dallas Cowboys. Go Cowboys! Bill Seifert, you just missed it, man, but thank you for joining us. And don't forget, if you missed it, you can listen to the audio playback on SoundCloud, or sometimes I post these videos on YouTube, depending on whether or not Facebook decides to let me save it that day. I have no fucking idea why that is. All right, take care, you guys. Have a great fantasy football Sunday, man. We'll talk to you guys on Monday.